This is the first episode of the football clubhouse. This is one of the most informal shows that you'll find on the internet, and this is the first time that Podcover is doing such a thing. So I think this is going to be fun. And now we have Ruptito Mukherjee as the veteran gunman. We have the Dirham addict as Avik Das, whose birthday is today. And then we have the Red Dreamer as Nishant Shah, and we have Saurabh Saha as the LFC buff. And this is me, the beer furor. And that's something you have to Google and translate. So I'll suggest you don't translate it. But then this is going to be a very, very informative and typically and most importantly fun session of football discussion. So we'll start off with the topic of resurgence of Manchester United under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So as a United fan, Nishant Shah, what do you think has been the impact of Ole on the team this season?
Mostly it would be that he completely understands what the club is about. He has played under the manager who has gained massive success with Manchester United. And under when he was under Sir Alex, he did learn. Everybody had a different kind of perspective towards the game. When we watch Man United back then, and when we watch Man United after Sir Alex left, the three managers that came in, there was a massive difference. Right, the attacking style was not there. That hunger on the pitch, that being aggressive on the pitch was not there. So everything was different. But under
Right,
Ole,
Rudy starting as a centre back, something like that.
yeah, but he does not compete. Right? He, that man will do anything for a team he is in. So
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, not taking nothing away from him. So what is under Ole is he completely gets and he completely brings back that mentality. He brings back young players. He wants English players. But yeah, he wants young English players to play for the team. That is what has been the norm for Manchester United and as well as Liverpool all these years. So all these old clubs have been playing young English players, and that is what he is bringing back. So, and it's exciting to see how he is working with everything. Even when you see the Jadon Sancho transfer saga, Dortmund initially wanted 150 million. Then they reduced it to 100 million. Now we know that Jadon Sancho has agreed to terms with Manchester United on principle, but then Dortmund has not come to any terms. But then Dortmund has still come down to 87 million as the selling price. So that shows that how what difference it makes. Like when we got Pogba, we got some 90 odd millions for Pogba, and we were ridiculed everywhere for paying that much amount of money and seeing Pogba for the next 2 seasons being lazy and not being up all his price fee. But then we see that Manchester United is somebody who will pay anything and everything the player is asking for. Even like Sanchez, the extremely high wages we were paying for Sanchez, that is cut off. We are selling him to Inter Milan. We are cutting. We are getting the Deadwood zone. We falling for former. Mkhitaryan through Arsenal, but then Sanchez tagged along. Never mind.
No,
That
but I can
was like
say that among that swap deal, we have been the one who is benefiting. And
nobody won that swap deal. Nobody won that swap.
it's not comparing who is better, it's like who is less worse.
Yeah, that is what it came to. Who is less hurt?
Yeah. But I have a good question in here. I mean, as talking to a Man United fan, being an Arsenal fan, I mean, I have always remembered Arsenal and Man United as the decision maker, as the match that decides the season back in those 2000s. But right now, we see both of us lingering around for finding a place in the championship. To be honest. So, are you happy with the team struggling to get in the top four and not actually contending for the title?
Well, as of now, I'm happy that they are contending for the top four because the previous seasons has been horrific. We have been playing lazy football. We have been having players that are not interested. We have had awful situation in the dressing room. We saw Pogba fighting with Mourinho on the training grounds, and everything. The man management was awful. The players were lazy. So when right now we have gotten new signings, we have gotten a manager who is looking as a good man manager, and Ole is even fixing that even fixing a position where we don't think we need a director of football anymore. So right now I'm happy for the top four position for this season, but I definitely would want them to challenge the title for the next season. And it looks like
I really like the way you kickstarted the answer. I mean that defense was better than Harry Maguire did back at the Emirates. That was awesome, man.
okay.
That was awesome. Man.
Yeah, yeah. But my point is, without a sporting director, do you think you can get the deals done in a proper way? Like the sporting director of Liverpool, I think his name is something Edwards. So he has done incredible job
Martin Edwards,
starting from the
Michael Edwards, I think.
yeah. So he has done an incredible job starting from the Coutinho deal to the next deals that Liverpool has done, and now see them.
Well, the
that they
Coutinho
are
deal
back
was
to back.
something Liverpool didn't want, right?
Uh,
No, means it worked out well, right? Like in the sense that if
you
you
got
look
the
at
money.
if you it means not about the money. See, if you look at it, the initial deal there was they wanted 115, like Liverpool wanted 115 million, and means they had offered 150 million, and we had said we wanted more. And fortunately, Coutinho picked up form, and we could increase the asking price. That kind of helped us, get us defenders, get us Virgil van Dijk as well as Alisson. These were the two main purchases. If you translate, if you see the means that balances the account books, and that has now led to Liverpool, say be the Premier League champions as well as becoming European champions. Those were the two essential requirements, and Klopp ensured, and the FSG group and all of them were on the same page as to ensure that what exactly are the requirements of the team. So these are things, see, for a while the model had been, if you look at it, the financial model of across all the European clubs was a bit scatterbrained, scattered of sorts, because with a lot of Middle East money coming in, a lot of billionaires investing into clubs and everything. But as you are seeing, now most
where
clubs are
is Dirham addict? Where is Dirham addict?
so yeah. So now most clubs are now looking at moving towards more of a sustainable model that ways, and currently Liverpool's model works. Means because we are the Premier League champions and everything. That is what's being talked about. But ideally, the best model, if you look at it across Europe, it should be Dortmund's, because they have been consistently doing this for a considerable period of time now, like at least for a decade or so.
Yeah, that's right. They have been like
But I have a doubt in here. So just a question for both the Liverpool and the Bayern fans. Like how much actual brain does it take a player for Liverpool transfer head to take a player from Southampton, and for Bayern to take a player from Dortmund?
it takes money.
It just happens like this. It just
Yeah,
happens
but
like
but
this.
if you carefully look at the Coutinho deal, the amount in the starting when the speculation began, the amount that Barcelona were willing to pay were below 100 million. So not only did Coutinho play for a longer time, he even improved his rating and then was sold for a better sum of money, and that sum of money actually came in handy. That's what I'm talking about. That's the importance of a sporting director that can have in a team. So, as Nishan Shah told, without a sporting director, I think it's going to be tough.
I agree to that, but what the general trend I'm seeing is that most of this team are mostly trying to develop their young players rather than buying a player who's already developed, because that saves money as well as younger player gets a chance. Because I saw in an interview in BT Sports, like someone was telling that if Arsenal, instead of investing that money on they have successful this year with 18 involving in 18 assets and goals, but instead of involving that money in him, if they would have invested developing Bukayo and Gabriel Martinelli, that would help their cause, considering the amount of money that we have and that Kroenke shit and all.
Yes, absolutely. That's the right way to go about. But the scenario right now is people are impatient. The fans are impatient. The boards, like the board of Barcelona, they panic even if a feather falls from the sky. So that's the scenario there. So they are willing to go for a high amount and a short-term solution rather than what Manchester United were famous for, growing from the academy and then building a legendary team. What Bayern did in terms of getting Muller and Schweinsteiger. So what they did, these things are missing now. These things are very
I
rare, and
I
it's Dortmund that
I
is doing that most of the time.
yeah, correct. So, but I particularly disagree on the fact that getting results means buying players, because I remember a season, it was around 7-8 or 2012-13, because there were many who invested 86 million. Spurs invested more than us. Chelsea invested more than us, but we still managed to finish above all of them. Where we have Lord Bendner as our striker, Giroud as our defender. So this solely depends on the coach, because I don't know what great coaches means to you, but some coaches like Alex Ferguson, Arsene Wenger, and Pep Guardiola, they look average. They make average players look good. The one player that
Absolutely.
comes to my mind is Cleverly in Manchester United. I used to rate him like anything. He was an awesome player, but I don't know why when after Alex left, his graph just dropped like shoe. I don't know what happened actually to him and all. So that
Yeah, I personally
to
think
management, because they give so much time to.
see, I personally think this the position of sporting director has evolved over the past. If you look at it, the past 6 7 years, it's not been that long since this position actually came about. I remember PSG as one of the major clubs when they were starting out, and with their initial Qatari money, and they had, I think, Leonardo as their sporting director, was currently the Brazilian team's sporting director as well. He works with the current Brazilian coach as well, the national team coach. So this is a concept that has come about because it helps the manager. Because nowadays, if you look at it, during Ferguson's era, the earlier era, it was like the gaffer was the someone which every squad member had to look up to. Means it was more like headmasterly with a an arm around the shoulder only among few players. But mostly,
Yeah.
the rest of the squad would be almost like headmasterial, or like a principal kind of sorts. Now over the years, if you look at it, now players are more self-conscious of themselves as a brand and themselves. So things have to change. So it requires a lot more dedication, lot more man management, and I think in a way, sporting director helps, take that load off, the manager by being always having to be alert as to what that player is up to, what are the advertising deals and what the contracts are. Like recently, I think day before yesterday in Guardian, one of the ex Manchester United players, I remember Jason Gillis, not Jason Gillespie, Keith Gillespie, who was a Manchester United '92 product, and he remembers Alex Ferguson acting as his agent, as an informal agent when they went into boardroom talks with a purchasing club, and he acted as an agent. Alex Ferguson acted as an agent for him to get him a better deal. So that those are the kind of relations the players and the managers share. Now the current generation of players are much more self-made, or they want to have a image within themselves. So that kind of maybe is the reason why you are seeing a lot of sporting directors, and maybe some clubs get it wrong, get it right. It takes a certain amount of time before they get the hang of it.
Yeah, Manu players had to look up to Alex Ferguson. I mean, the man who can throw a boot at David Beckham at when David Beckham was at that form, that guy can do anything. Man. Come on.
Yes. You have anything to say? The Red Dreamer?
No, everybody summed it for me then.
Yeah, so one of the biggest example is Bayern getting Alfonso Davis this season. United were kind of looking forward to it,
Look at his
That
speed.
Davis guy is too good.
but
Correct.
Alfonso
Look at his
Davis
speed.
what he did this
He got
season.
Bundesliga Rookie of the Year, right?
Yeah, the absolute. Who
He
else?
He
Who
also he
else?
also registered the fastest Bundesliga
Yeah,
sprint.
36.4 kilometers
Yeah.
per hour, something like that.
He's insanely fast, man. What happened to
He's insanely
Mbappe?
fast, and he has quick feet. But what people don't realize that he has
Yeah,
quick feet and he can.
versus Chelsea, everybody realized that.
Yes,
Yeah.
what he did to Chelsea from the left flank.
Uh,
I miss Nilakash in this podcast at the moment.
Really wanted one Chelsea guy, man. Really wanted. I
Yeah.
spent the whole night looking for one CISCK member to turn up, man. I spoke to like 7-8 people myself for
Ah.
someone to turn up.
But
Yeah,
what can be done?
But they're getting in great signings though with Ziyech and
Ziyech and Warner,
coming in. But
Yeah.
they still need defense. Rudiger and Christensen.
Rudiger sometimes do drastic mistakes.
But Kurt Zuma had a good game last day.
Kadzuma actually. Because of Kadzuma, Chelsea won the game. Otherwise, it would end in a draw.
Yeah,
Guys,
and
continue.
Bentacle is a bomb.
but
Against the
to
bomb.
be fair, yeah, Kazuma performed well, but dude, it was like you don't get the defense of Chelsea, a team of stature of Chelsea against Crystal Palace. I know they had Zaha, they had Benteke, but I don't remember him performing against a top six club well. I mean, they came up against us. Bellerin scored with the left foot. They came up against you. In the first match, it was a different case. You mean, you remember the penalty that he gave away to Rashford? Hell, Jesus. What was that? That was not defense for me. Come on, man.
They have been good.
But
Crystal
anyway,
Palace
but
have been
Chelsea-
good offensively.
Yeah, man. Pulisic has
They've
been
been good in the midfield with Milivojevic and with Zaha. Zaha has always performed. He's been very consistent.
Raha is a good player, but it will take time, I'm sure, for Warner as well as Hakim Ziyech to settle in the Premier League. To be honest, because over the ages,
I think Warner will be a natural, but Ziyech will take time.
Ziyech
Yeah, even I feel so because Werner has played for Germany and it's kind of a similar style of play. It's like he's fast, he's strong, but he lacks finishing. But this season he improved a lot when it comes
All
to
Chelsea
finishing.
strikers do, so never mind.
Yes. But I don't think he's going to be played as a striker. I think he's going to be played on the wings maximum most of the time.
striker.
But they have
Giroud.
Callum Hudson-Odoi coming up, right? They have Callum Hudson-Odoi and Willian.
Willian, I don't think
Willian,
is
I
going
was
to be
hearing that
fit.
Willian,
But Willian is performing
Chelsea,
amazing
man.
after the lockdown. I
Yeah,
think he
Willian,
needs a
yeah.
contract extension as well.
Yeah, but
Willian is
is
performing
he a
good after
long-term
lockdown.
solution? Because Chelsea, the way it looks, they are definitely going for a title race in the coming years.
Hakim Ziyech has played in the wings as well, so he can always be an alternate option along with
Yeah,
the attacking
absolutely.
half position he plays. So that is there, and Willian is there. So I don't think Frank Lampard is going for any more attacker right now.
He should
No,
go for
he
defense.
He should not.
Some defensive signings.
Yeah,
need to be
all
done.
the four defenders are not up to the mark. Starting from
they're horrific. Bro. They're horrific. They're not just bad. They're horrific.
Marcos Alonso is just absent all the time.
I mean,
No.
any team. If I would have been playing an amateur team playing against Chelsea, I would have told them attack Chelsea's right side. And anyway, anybody who comes up in the left back is just they are just the target point for any team who goes up against them. Come on,
Vulnerable.
you.
Right
Okay,
side is vulnerable.
so this reminds me, as we're talking about signings, we are talking about a title race, and we are definitely talking about a UCL place. So what can City do next season? They are banned.
No. Actually, there is a ray of hope. Actually, there is a ray of hope. The final verdict will be told in 13 July. So yeah, we are still.
But I heard Pep telling in an post-match interview that the ban is going to happen. I mean, it's tough to
Nah,
avoid.
but still,
Everybody thinks the ban is going to
Victor,
happen
you're,
because the charges are pretty horrific.
Yeah, 30 million, something like that.
yeah, 30 million, 30 million.
Yeah, 30 million. It's every day. It's like it's a daily operating cost for Man City, I guess. 30 million.
No, not that thing. Actually, the ban is very much tough on us because 2 years
Yeah,
UCL ban.
your
Mo-
like your video
Yeah,
is
your
we can't see your video.
your voice is coming kind of in and out.
Now, okay.
Yeah, yeah, much
Yes.
better.
So basically the thing is the ban has will affect the morality of the players, but yeah, Pep told that no matter what the thing is, we will stick to it. If the ban happens, we will mainly focus on Premier League, FA Cup, Carabao
But
Cup.
do you think if the ban stays, big players like De Bruyne or Laporte or Mendy or Ederson or all the big
Yeah, yeah,
players
it,
they be
yeah,
staying?
yeah, yeah. It
Some of
can't
them
be
will
said.
stay, obviously.
Some of them will stay, but some of them might leave. But fingers crossed that De Bruyne or just like De Bruyne or Laporte. Laporte is the heart of our defense right now. So if Laporte leaves, then so it will be a drastic change for us.
So it
We
will be
have to sign
Fernandinho and John Stones all over again.
Fernandinho. But
Yeah, but John
Fernandinho,
Stones did something
Johnston did
that
something,
stopped
yes.
Liverpool last year
Yeah, last year
from the
that
goal
goal
line.
line clearance,
Well, he was the
that
one.
is outstanding.
He created that situation for himself, though.
But
Exactly.
then
He
he
was the
also
one who
he
kicked the
messed it
ball
up.
to
Yeah.
Ederson's body.
Actually, if you remember this Chelsea and Man City match, Kyle Walker did a very good goal line clearance. Oh, that sprint of
Yeah,
Kyle Walker,
back volley clearance. That was great. Yeah.
No,
excellent,
Yeah,
excellent.
yeah, and then
compare if
flipped the Premier League trophy on the
yeah,
ground.
yeah. If
Yeah,
you if you compare those two players, Kyle Walker didn't have any pressure at the back, but Stones had Salah lurking behind.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that was much more difficult.
yeah. Actually, Stones did a very, but after that, Stones kind of disappeared.
Yeah, yeah, but then if a few players, if key players, suppose KDB or maybe Sterling, these
Hmm.
players leave. So what does it make of Man City in the coming season?
Yeah,
As soon as the ban lifts, they won't be coming back
yeah,
immediately, right? So it's gone. It's a gone story if they
it's
go
gone, it's gone.
once.
Yes. Yeah,
So
actually, it will be a tough time. I think Pep will make some new signings. Some academy players we will get to see. Already they are playing
Will
Doyle.
Pep stay if you don't play UCL for 2 seasons?
Huh?
yeah, Pep has said
Pardon?
that he's going to stay, but let's see. I think
Uh-huh.
Foden will be coming up in the limelight in the coming
Yes, yes,
season,
yes.
next season.
Actually, he will be hired,
Brilliant.
hired to David Silva. After David Silva leaves, he will be the charge of that list. So yeah, Foden will be coming into limelight.
Yeah, Foden has been amazing this season. Like
This
he
is a
has been
good.
scoring goals as well. I don't know the number of goals he has scored, but he has been involved in plenty.
He
So
he has he has a very good. I mean, he has a very good game knowledge. He analyzes the game so well. Means in the field, 2 minutes he understands how the attack is going to be. That is the thing I like about Foden. He analyzes the attack so well.
yeah,
But the
so
main thing is
now
he's the striker, backup striker. Because
yes, so
after the
now we are
injury of Aguero, yes,
yeah now we are talking about strikers. So Aguero is aging. So I think that's what you are going to say is what happens next.
yes, we need a striker because Jesus needs still game maturity. Because in the penalty box he tries to do skills when you can do a perfect shoot.
Come
You
on,
go
he's a
for skill or
Brazilian.
something. When you go for the perfect shoot, you don't shoot, but you go for skills or some highlight goals. So that is the main thing. We need a striker and a defense and with a good CB. Because we have seen how the injury of Laporte cost us a title. If Laporte was in the defense, then there would be a tough competition for Liverpool. The point gap shouldn't be that much. We actually dropped 33 points due to this bad defense. We have lost 9 games. That is very unlikely Man City.
Right, that's true. But then now we are talking about attacks and now we are talking about goals. So let's head back to Arsenal for that.
Oh
What
my
do you have
god.
to say about Hector Bellerin
We will not be
planting
getting goals
3,000
though.
trees for victory?
Sorry, come again.
What do you think about the Hector Bellerin's campaign about planting 3,000 trees every time Arsenal
Yeah,
grabs a victory?
I hear everybody coming up of the thing that he's been clever, that Arsenal is not going to win any match, and come on. I mean, come on. I mean, we have had a horrific season. We have had
So, but recently you are winning.
three change of
Recently you are
yeah, I mean, we have had three change of managers, but still, I mean, I see we are fighting for the golden boot. So I don't think there is lack of characters in the team. So we need someone to assemble everything. But what I find good about Mikel Arteta is we need to give him time. First of all, we need to give him time because if you see Liverpool didn't make this team in 1 year. They took four
Correct.
seasons, and
Yes.
four season involves 8 transfer windows. So you need to give at least two transfer window to Mikel to implement his thing, and he has his own strategy. I mean, I am not ready in here to accept Mikel as Pep's con man. Absolutely not. He has his own strategy. He's trying to put it in everything. But yes, if you ask me about the right back position, I'll go for Ainsley Maitland-Niles over Hector Bellerin because Hector Bellerin, first of all, is not a good footballer. Let's be on that. Hector Bellerin is not a good footballer. He used to pick up stars with space. His
Yeah.
pace was terrific. But after that operation, after his ACL, so his pace has gone. But he is able to we need to give him time. We can just strike him off because he's not performing for the last maybe 2 3 months. But Ainsley is coming up good. Cedric is playing good. So we are in. But in terms of William Saliba in our defense, we will strengthen it. Luckily, Agent Luis has been playing great after that game against Rangers. I don't know what he ate and wow, what his wife gave him for dinner. He is coming exceptionally well. Zaka
I
has been
think
performing well.
he did not get dinner.
Yeah, he did not get dinner. I mean, he what? I mean, you can't play that horrific 22 minutes, man. Come on, you can't do that. You need to respect the Arsenal badge. Come on. So that
So
was
how do you see the team in the next season?
to be honest, I don't see them challenging for the title yet next season. I
I'm
expect them.
talking about the top four at the moment.
Yeah, they will be challenging the top four, but I mean, I need to see how this season ends up because we are yet to face Liverpool City. So I need to see how they turn up against them because I have seen character in this team right now. I mean, the way they turned up against Wolves. I mean, even the most kick-ass Arsenal fans would have thought an L in that back there in Molyneux. But the way they came out was fantastic. The signings that they made shows that they have future intent. Arteta has a plan which he needs to implement. So yeah, so I'm gassed. I'm optimistic. It's all down to the players. But one thing that I am eager to look up is whether Aubameyang going to sign a deal. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I think he is the heart of the attack and has been for quite
Looks
some
pretty
time.
unlikely though. Him signing
but
a new
Why?
deal.
Why?
What about Ozil?
Why that looks unlikely?
He has
Ozil, I
been
think
offered a
Ozil
deal
has
because he
lost
has-
his touch, his magic.
So
I think so.
let's get over one at a time. Why it looks unlikely that Aubameyang will not sign a deal?
Okay, why will he want to play? Why will a top striker, a Golden Boot challenger, will want to play in a team that doesn't play for Europe the next year, doesn't qualify for Europe the next year?
See, suppose let's consider the fact that you are Aubameyang. I am Arsenal director. We are sitting for negotiation. Aubameyang is
All
31.
right, this is interesting.
Yeah, Aubameyang is 31, right? Aubameyang is 31. This will be his last big contract. And to play-
Lewandowski is 32 and beating the wall with his goal scoring campaigns.
Yeah.
Goal scoring
For top
capabilities.
strikers, you cannot challenge
Yeah.
that age, man.
I actually-
Aguero has been doing that 30 after
Yeah.
30.
But-
Zlatan has
tell me a-
37 now.
Tell me a team tell me a big European giant where Aubameyang can go because we all know that he's the talisman of Arsenal. He has the
Absolutely.
fans behind him, he has the coach behind him, he has the director behind him. Arsenal fans absolutely adore him. Tell me a big giant where Aubameyang will go and this will be his last big contract because he's already 31 and he'll be running off at 35, 36 maybe. This will be his last big contract. So tell me any team that he will swoop in and be the talisman of the team instantly, like he became for Arsenal. There is no European giant because if you see any European giants and the striking forces, they have all world-class players in there. So why will they pay
That's a good. That's
Yeah,
a valid point.
that's a good point. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
So Aubameyang is likely to sign the deal I mean, I heard him
I
in the
think
press.
max 3 years, a deal
Yeah,
of.
I mean, Oba. I see Oba telling in the press conference that I love the club. It's all down to the club. I mean, somebody just asked him that if he really wants to stay in the club, why just he doesn't put up his hand and say that yes, I want to stay in the club. For me, like he's just increasing his own value because, as I said, this is his last big contract. So wherever he goes and whatever he does, so hopefully he stays because Arteta loves him. We love him and he's our talisman and we need to keep him. But what thing that strikes me is we are trying to bring in Thomas Partey. Now what Atletico Madrid actually wants, they are preferring a swap deal between Lacazette and Thomas Partey. Because if you remember, Atletico Madrid was the one who wanted Lacazette from Lyon. But they had that transfer ban, so Arsene Wenger just robbed Lacazette from Lyon. So they are right now coming in and telling like, okay, you give me Lacazette plus 20 odd million, and we'll give you Thomas Partey. And right now we need Thomas Partey more than Lacazette. So I don't know how Arteta is going to sign this up and make the whole thing work. But yeah, I'm hopefully looking forward.
I think Partey coming in the midfield area, I think it's going to be a great addition, and especially if you have players like David Luiz behind you, I think it will
It
be
will be a
important.
great addition. And actually, there will be someone who can give constant service to Aubameyang.
Yeah, and he's strong.
Aubameyang is getting because the reason why we are not performing well against clubs that tend to sit back because we play a positional football right now. It's not the Unai Emery era anymore that we only play sideways and square passes. We play through balls. But the thing is that we lack creativity in the midfield right now. That forces Mikel to go to a back three. Yeah, Ceballos is good. He has played a big through ball in that Leicester game for Bukayo Saka. But we need more creativity in that midfield. We need
So why
someone like
not
Thomas
get in
Partey.
Ozil
But
and
Thomas
give him?
Partey, Thomas Partey is not a creative midfielder, right?
Yeah, he's
I-
someone who can break a leg.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
so,
more
yeah,
like
but
Casemiro and
yeah, I
He's
get
a
that,
DM.
yeah.
but he has the capability. I mean, we now midfield. If you see Arsene Wenger's graph, it dropped as soon as the time Patrick Vieira left. Because what Patrick Vieira used to do is he used to take the ball and drive through the midfield. We need some player like that. I mean, Wenger tried filling his place with Abu Dhabi, Samian Nasri, and whatnot, but all of them sadly failed. So we need
Zaha looks
someone.
good there.
Zaka can't drive
is
into
good
the
in that
midfield.
position.
Zaka is good with his interception, with his tackling, but we need someone who can take the ball and like drive into the midfield, and someone like Kante who can drive into the midfield straight on.
Basically, you
Partey
need
looks
an
pretty
engine.
off right now. Yeah.
After
I think
lockdown,
I
Kante is
personally think that Partey and Xhaka are the same player. Just that Partey has a bit more abilities than.
But Partey has the sole ability of winning the ball at opponent's half. Zaka is more about if you come at opponent's better at shielding, but Partey can take the ball off from the midfield of the opponent half and drive into the box, which we actually need because if you see most of our goals, it coming from the crosses of Kieran Tierney. Pellerin is not that good. It's Ainsley who is giving the ball. There's Bukayo Saka. So there's nothing from the middle. So yeah. So talking about this, the topic of Mesut Ozil will come up. So it's time that we just get the load off after next season because he has officially said that even if Arteta doesn't want me in the plan, so I will be staying here till the next one, and he will be getting off to Turkey or MLS or somewhere. So I don't see particularly Uzil in the team right now with the setup that Arsenal is playing right now. But he will be an addition, but not for 90 minutes because he lost his pace, he lost his agility. He has the creative power and that what is needed for a midfielder to sign. I mean, he can pass a ball to a player who is not even in the frame right now. So that is a plus point, but that is not exactly what Arsenal is lacking right now. So yeah, I am happy to sell off.
just said that you needed some creativity, and that is creativity, right?
No, to be honest, giving a through ball at certain stages is not creativity for me. You need to get past player. Uzil can't get past player. You need to
Yeah, that's
you need to provide that pace to give him that ball. Ozil doesn't have the
There's no
ability
dribbling.
Ozil is amazing at, yeah, he has great dribbling in close spaces.
Come on.
Right now, he has been failing miserably at it.
Ozil is great in a situation like there's a long ball coming at you and you need to receive it in a way. If you don't receive it particularly on point, the opponent starts a counter attack. That is where we need Ozil right now. But that situation doesn't come in an EPL much often. Right now, the style that we are playing, that situation doesn't come because we are playing with the back three. We have enough holding midfielders and stuff. So I am okay to get off to offload Ozil as long as my front three fires.
No,
So
no.
Thomas Partey for Ozil.
The style that we play right now, Ozil anyway doesn't fit in because we play three at the back. We play 3-4-3. So in the 3-4-3, we need two holding midfielders. So Ozil anyway doesn't fit in right now.
Lucas Torreira was a great engine. Lucas Torreira lost his touch under Arteta.
Lucas Torreira just came back from an injury, so he played a few minutes in the Wolves game. He played few minutes in the Leicester City game, but Lucas Torreira and Xhaka, because Arteta has said it publicly, like he's a big fan of Xhaka. I mean, we have been a bit off Xhaka after that incident that happened in the Emirates in the Crystal Palace game, but it seems that the fans had forgiven Xhaka for whatever the hell happened. But we need Xhaka in the midfield right now, as well as we need Ceballos to have that creative thing and play the through passer and everything. But let's see, because if we want to have Lucas Torreira in the team, we need to play a 4-2-3-1. We can't have three at the back and have Lucas Torreira. Then there will be no creativity in the midfield other than defensive. We will become Spurs light, which I don't want.
What will be a midfield for if Thomas Partey comes in?
If Thomas Partey comes in, and I mean, if you ask me that the latest style of play that Arteta follows in the next season, I'll still have Leno at the goal, even if Emi Martinez has been performing
absolutely.
pretty well.
That's the midfield four. That will do for me.
Here's the midfield four. I mean, you have three at the back, so my four will have two wing backs. It will be Ainsley Maitland-Niles down the right. It will be Kieran Tierney down the left, and it will be Xhaka and Thomas Partey.
Okay.
So we'll get to see Xhaka in the FA Cup final, semi-final.
Yeah, just the semi-final. Just the semi-final.
That's the same. Yeah. That's the same.
Okay, so the semi-final reminds me of Premier League being one of the most exciting leagues, but there is something more exciting, that's UCL, and it's a weird knockout round this season. It's just one leg. Though the legs which are left, the second legs, they are going to take place, but the others from the quarterfinals is just a single leg. So, how do you think it's going to affect the teams?
Barcelona will be very happy.
Barcelona will be very happy. But yeah, it's going to be a tough thing because getting past Real Madrid.
Video is not showing.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so it's going to be a tough thing because getting past Real Madrid will be a tough time because now the players of Real Madrid have been drastically improved, like Ferland Mendy,
It has been
Valverde.
really good. Really good.
And if we get past also Real Madrid, we have a Juventus team, which are they are very good in defense. So, and our defense is very vulnerable to counter attacks. So, let's see what happens.
What do you think? How far City can go in this UCL campaign?
No, I am taking City as a title contender because our attack is.
Come on,
our attack.
that's a better joke. Nah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, let's see.
That's something very weird.
Nobody agrees to that.
Nobody. I know you are a fan. I mean, with all due respect, I mean, we expect you to be a bit realistic. Also,
Victor was realistic. He said no for Premier League next year as well. See, so realistic. Be realistic.
Yeah, I am being realistic because okay, that Juventus will play defense. Real Madrid also will come at us with full way, but we are very good in attack. So let's see what happens.
But the
And
way I see it is Real Madrid will be playing without Ramos. I know
without
it's a long
Ramos,
time, but I know it's
Yeah.
been a long time, but I'm sure City fans would not forget that. They will be without Ramos, and City attack with Mahrez, Sterling and all, they can be dangerous.
yes,
They can
but
Absolutely.
be.
that,
And they are
but that,
leading, right,
yeah,
at the
they are
moment.
leading. Mahrez, Sterling. But the thing is that Aguero is out for injury, so that is a very big factor for us.
Yeah, and then and the
And
in the other team, Benzema is in the form of his life.
Benzema is in the form of his life, yeah, exactly. And I think Hazard will also be
He and
playing.
Ramos has been carrying the team with a lot of passion and with a
Try
lot
not
of
to give Real Madrid again another penalty, man.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
even free kicks. Ramos has been scoring from free kicks. He has scored
Free kicks
about
also, yes, yes.
nine goals this season, probably more than some of a few forwards in the league. So he has been insane this season. So
Yeah,
I think
Ramos.
City and Real, even though City is leading, I think it's a game that it's not over yet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It, they're not-
It will be a very tough game for us because we know we are very much aware about Real Madrid counter attacks. And yeah, when it comes to counter attack, City are very vulnerable. We have Zinchenko who goes at the front and then he can't trace a player back. The only hope is
They have
Benjamin Mendy.
Marcelo too. You can't complain with that. They have Marcelo too. So you can't complain with.
yeah, but
Yeah,
what do you think
Marcelo is
about
also
the Juventus versus Lyon match?
Juventus versus Lyon. Yeah, yeah. I think Juventus will win that match easily.
Juventus is losing 1-0 and
But still,
away
it
loss.
is.
It's this
But
time
it is Ronaldo
that
and UCL.
yeah,
It is Ronaldo and
that's
UCL.
Ronaldo and that's UCL and that's a leg that he has not scored in. So that's a very typical Ronaldo kind of situation where he scores a hat trick and then goes to the away fans and then does the Simeone thing to them. You know what I'm talking about. But then Leon is looking strong. Leon is definitely looking strong.
Lyon is looking strong, yes. But the thing is, Lyon haven't played much football after lockdown, so that could be a determining factor.
That could be a very important factor this season. For Premier League, I think it could be a
Yeah,
problem.
actually, it's not. Yeah, for Premier League, La Liga, and any leagues that has been going on, that won't be a matter. But for I'm sure they will be prepared to cast up for the whole thing. But I still think Juventus will against Leon anyway. But I'm more interested about that Barcelona and Napoli because I have a strong feeling that Barcelona will be heading out. I don't
Will
know
be?
what will be heading out because
Yeah,
that Napoli front two that
Napoli
Napoli
is in a very good form right now.
that
Yeah, it has been a very tough draw the last time they met, the first leg. Napoli
Already, I
lost
think.
it. So
And Napoli, they have Ciro Immobile, which
yeah,
is currently leading
he's
right now.
in a goal streak at the moment.
He has been on a
Immobile
goal
is in
streak, yes.
Lazio, not in Napoli.
Oh yes,
Immobile is in Lazio.
sorry. He's in Lazio. Sorry, that's
Oh, sorry,
that's
Lazio.
Martins
Yeah,
and Insigne are the strikers for
yeah,
Napoli.
yeah.
Martins
Sorry,
and
sorry.
Insigne.
Yeah. And at some time in Napoli, I think Higuain was there.
yeah,
He
Higuain
played
was there.
some part of his career there, the legendary Argentine striker who performed really well in the 2014 World Cup final. Anyway, what do you think about the Bayern and Chelsea match? Is there a way to come back for
oh,
Chelsea?
let's not
Oh, come on.
Oh man, no, with that attack and with that defense, hell no.
No. Yeah, you will be
I won't be surprised if Bayern call up their all the academy players and like
Yeah, exactly.
get a
Yeah, we want to see Zirkzee score that goal. We want to see
Xerxes,
score that goal.
you never know. Xerxes might be coming on in the second half and might score a goal. You never know. He's a wonder kid at the moment. Uh, but a question that I want to really ask, and I'm seriously very serious about it. Bayern has been in a great form recently, and especially the players have been brilliant. Each and every player have been brilliant. So, what do you think they have a chance of lifting the UCL this season?
yeah, they have a pretty good chance actually.
To be
Because
honest, to be honest, Bayern has always been great in the Bundesliga.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's be aligned
Yes,
on that. Bayern
yes.
has always
That's not
That's
Bayern's fault.
something that
That's not
makes
Bayern's fault.
Bundesliga very boring. That's something that makes Bundesliga boring. So yes, in that way, in the UCL they have been performing well, good as well. So the comeback or the thrashing that Spurs got from them, and then the Chelsea away match. So I think they have a chance, but not really lifting the UCL. Maybe till quarter or semi. But who do you think will lift the UCL this season? Paris?
PSG, yeah, PSG could be, but I want to see PSG Bayern. That PSG Bayern match will be very good.
It's going to be a very fast-paced match.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Davies versus Mbappe, and Alaba is a centre back. He runs faster than a few forwards. Like
Exactly,
Cavani
David
runs faster
Alaba.
than Cavani. But then they have Icardi. That's going to be a threat.
But let's not hope Neymar doesn't get injured before that.
Yeah. So who do you think your predictions this season's UCL winner
UCL winner, I can see PSG and be a City
PSG
fan
has the
myself.
same problem.
of
PSG has
what
the
league?
same problem that other League One teams have, like with Leon. They have not played any football after lockdown.
Exactly. That could be a determining factor, but still, given a team like PSG, the star-studded team they have,
They
so
lost to
yeah.
Romelu Lukaku alone.
Yes. But yeah,
What
that's
about you
Yes,
guys?
fans will bring this up for the next decade, man. They are gonna bring this up.
We have to.
Just like Arsenal invincible. Come on.
We have to.
guys.
We have to. You will too. Arsenal will too. Every time they play Champions League football.
Inter Milan United is the new name of Inter Milan. You know.
United team too.
Yeah, 2.2 United Light.
United light, yeah.
But yeah, still there in Inter Milan also, Alexis Sanchez, he is having a downfall. He used to be a
He has
favorite
been
player
for the
once,
last 2
once a
years.
while. While he is in Arsenal, wow,
He is bringing in break signings. He already got Hakimi.
Yeah, Hakimi. That was a
Same
really
also.
weird signing. If I think like for me
Yeah,
that was
Real
a very
Madrid shouldn't have let him go because Carvajal is aging and like Hakimi is a right back option, only right back option.
yeah. The
Shocking.
veteran gunner. He is like his secondary team is Real Madrid, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
After Arsenal, you follow Real Madrid. So what do you think that how did this deal can affect this team? You have a backup. You have Odriozola who is injured and it's in Munich at the moment.
To be honest, in here, so with the transfer market that it's looking on, we need to still there will be a huge drop, and we will be having more loans, and we will be seeing players going main players that been sold out. That's for sure. So if you see the Madrid team right now and the right back as well as the left back situation, there has been a big hockey situation in there. But anyway, we trust Zidane in there. He will certainly bring in some changes in there, and like he put up
That's
for Hazard.
Florentino Perez, man. He'll buy anyone for you.
Yeah, man, that's for it.
Yeah, Papa Perez.
I mean, he buys so many players, but I don't know why Barcelona fan only focuses on the referee that he buys. So that's a separate thing altogether. That's a separate thing altogether. But anyway, so I Hakimi has been an A-class player in here because I generally don't follow Dortmund much, but I have been lately after lockdown. He has been excellent. He puts in the. I mean, I have been crying out for a player like that in Arsenal shirt, man. I mean, we got him the left back Kieran Tierney. I actually love him, man. We need someone to like someone whips him the ball. I mean, you see what's his name? Alexander Trent Arnold for Liverpool. You see Robert. They are excellent, man. They are excellent. I mean, it's a boon always to have a like two great fullbacks who can deliver quality crosses to the strikers.
yeah, that Robertson and Trent Turner, no, both are a great deliverer of balls.
Yeah, but whatever I have seen the Real Madrid, the way they are playing in, while go for the attacking style, maximum thing develops around that midfield area of Casemiro, Isco, and Modric. So I haven't seen in much of the game that many crosses floating in from Carvajal or crosses coming in from the Marcelo's end. So their main attacking threat has been from the midfield because they had quality players in there. So I don't think that will be a much problem, even if we, even I know Carval is running his legs out, but anyway, so I'm not worried that Hakimi signed for Inter and we have already up this void in there. I'm not particularly worried, but I really need to see that how Hazard comes up, and because the expectation with which the Hazard went from Chelsea to Real Madrid,
And he got his number 7 jersey as well.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he didn't have any justification to his name yet. I mean, he has been performing well lately. He has been controlling the game slightly, but he needs to go up, man.
But then the most weird signing of this season will be the swap of Arthur Melo and Pjanic.
Oh, yeah. I think I'll
I
find a
think
legit reason
there
behind
is
that.
two situations that is logical. One is Barcelona is stupid. Second is there is a quota of non-European players, and shifting Arthur out and bringing Pjanic, who is an European, gives Barca space in the squad to bring in Neymar, who is a non.
Oh, yeah,
This
that,
can be a situation, but then why are they still running after Neymar? He's going to be 29 in the coming year.
yeah, I
I
think the,
understand the situation, but you need to remember if you look at the Barcelona's legacy, there always has been is always developed around the central player. Like
Right.
earlier it was Ronaldinho, before that it was Rivaldo, after that it was Messi. So after Messi leaves, and
there is no one.
there is a I mean, there is a saga possible 2021 unless the president changes. But if Messi leaves, who will be their talisman? You need someone to like the fans to look up to.
Yeah, but who will be that? I don't see anyone even going close to that role.
Bring in Neymar. They need to bring in Neymar first of all if they really want to achieve that, because you can see that Messi is doing great, but he's also running out of his legs. We saw that in case of Ronaldo as well. We're seeing it in case of Zlatan as well. So every as the in the Arsene Wenger era, there were packets coming out that every good thing has an end. So
Yes.
here's what it is.
So Neymar, this is the only logical thing I can think of when it comes to this swap. Because
Yeah,
there is
that
no
should
way
be a
you
thing.
have to get a 30-year-old midfielder in place of a 22. And even as someone who has potential of that, like Arthur Melo, he's a brilliant,
That
brilliant
was
boy.
not a swap. Those were two different transfers, though.
Yeah,
That
but
was not a swap.
it's being considered as a swap plus cash.
Pjanic, yeah, so Pjanic cost 655 millions, around 55 millions.
Yeah. And so it
Is that
was something around Pjanic plus 30 something.
What do you guys think of that? This is something that I have been trying to question someone. How do you rate the new VAR system that has been introduced in La Liga as well as here?
Yeah, VAR system,
I
would
have
like
been
to
always
talk about this.
anti-VAR. I have been always
I am
anti-VAR.
I am like not against this, definitely not against this. But the thing is, does it disrupt the flow of the game? Absolutely, 100%. But does it give justice to the game? Again, absolutely and 100%. So yes, has been mistakes using VAR. Those blind idiots have done terrible mistakes using VAR, which we from sitting at our houses, at our home in our chair, we can see it clearly. But then it gives a lot of justice. Historic moments. There has been historic moments like the hand of God. Those things could have been avoided. Yes, that's a historic moment. That's something everybody talks about, everybody knows. But those are moments that are not justified. That's something when you look at the replay and you find that okay, so this is what happened, and he should not have been. This should not happen. So in that way, VR provides justice to the game, but it definitely disrupts the flow of the game big time. What do you guys think?
I think VR is good, but it still needs changes.
Absolutely, it needs to be more smooth, needs to be
changes.
more faster.
I don't know what the exact system is. It's like whenever a goal happens, the VAR checks that whether it's an offside or not, and they inform the referee on the field to like, hey, we're having a look. Is it happens that way? Does it happen that way?
Yeah, so
No,
whenever,
no. Exactly what happens is whenever there is a cloud in judgment, suppose there is an offside that is missed or handball that is missed and that has led to a goal. Okay, so whenever a goal is scored, they check the whole like timeline from where the the position was taken and the whole process, the whole situation leading to the goal. Okay, so every time they find a hindrance or a disruption or something that's a foul or something that will go against the goal, so they inform the referee. The referee can have a check if he wants to, or if he's advised to by the team, or the VAR can take the decision by themselves. So if the VAR team thinks that their decision is still not enough, they can ask the referee to check over, or if the referee thinks the VAR is taking too much time, or I should have a look at it myself, then the referee takes it over.
So I don't understand this exact situation that when a referee asks for the VAR decision and he already has given a stop signal towards the incident that whatever has happened. So why should VAR again come back to the field referee and ask him to have a check?
yeah, just
I
to,
can.
like, it's like
I'll give you
excuse
an
reading.
example. I'll give you an example. What happened to Nketiah's case? I think you are talking about that too. He is his red card.
Hello, man, Rahul. Come on. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can understand that. So, if any others have not seen the game, I'll just tell it to you. So, Eddie Nketiah came in. So, Arsenal made a clearance and he was running towards the ball. So, there was a 50-50 challenge. He absolutely went for the ball. There was no other intention. He stamped the play. I'm forgetting his stamp. So that was a clear red card foul, yes. But initially, the referee gave a yellow card, and I think the referee gave a card and he gave the free kick. Later, the VAR asked the referee. The VAR stopped the game and was checking for a potential red card. So after that, the VAR couldn't decide. The referee went over to the screen. He had one single look, and he decided that it's a red card. He did not check any other angles, nothing. He had just one look and he decided it's a red card. So Eddie Nketiah had to go off right after he came in.
That is pretty hard.
So my point of take in here is I accept that's a red card, no doubt. I mean, you're going for a call, you're going for that punch with your stud up. That's a red card for sure. But my problem is when the VAR taking more than 6 minutes to take a decision,
Yeah,
you
that's something they have to
feel
work on
which
a lot.
implies that there is then a doubt for that particular incident. So you can't have a single look and bring out your decision. You need to show him all the angles and satisfy in it's an official foul. It was
Right.
intentional foul and you need to put up the card. Even for the offside decision against Vardy and his head was offside and you can score with your head. So that game it was completely wrong. I mean, I'm not against VAR. I'm against the way that comes in the Premier League because this is the very reason no English referees goes to the World Cup. I mean, they are actually you need to level up. The Premier League needs to level up.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's you can say that's the dark side of VAR or something like
Yeah.
that. So these things
Yeah.
happen, and I think with time VAR is going to improve. But considering the fact that it can massively change the course of history, I think we should keep on having it. Because if it's a controversial goal in a final of a UCL, it's like something every team works hard for, and then because of a wrong decision, a goal is given or a red card is given that leads to a certain situation. So that's
Yeah,
not right.
that's the
That's
thing that
not.
could be avoided.
The way
But
I
then,
see
but
it
then, VAR is still even after checking VAR, people are making wrong decisions, right?
Yes,
So
Yes.
absolutely. They are messing up even after watching the angles from different 100 angles, and even watching it 10, 15 times, they're making the mistake. So that's something that has to be corrected. That's something very, very crucial at the moment. If you're using it, use it correctly.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
that's
instead of
Exactly.
introduction of VAR, what it made is like it made the field referees a bit more reluctant. I mean, I have seen
Yes. Correct.
something will hurt Nishant. I'll definitely pick that up. Is that Aubameyang's goal against Manchester United at Old Trafford? I mean, come on, man. Aubameyang was 1 feet onside. You can see it with the naked eyes. The linesman was at parallel with Harry Maguire, and you can see that, and you need VAR to turn. Come on, man. Any referee can see that. Because
That
like just
that was onside, man. I have no regrets to say that that was onside. Even the Bruno penalty given last day wasn't a penalty, but it was given.
I mean, I'm questioning the linesman in here rather than the both of the teams out there, because you can see that decision. I mean, Maguire kept Aubameyang onside at about 1, and as a linesman, you expect to see that, and you expect to see that decision shouldn't be going too far. It was straightforward.
Yeah, yeah, right. So these things, I think, with time they are going to improve.
Yeah, let's hope that because VAR is very much hurt against Man City.
Why?
That Man City fan in the corner thinking about VAR.
Obviously, in the starting of the season, that Tottenham game, the UCL Tottenham game, everything VAR just changed. The last minute
Yeah,
18 goal,
yeah.
it was
Pep
disallowed by VAR.
with his hands on his takla, and then sitting down, kneeling down on the sidelines, technical area, and then Pochettino be all like, yeah, my
Oh,
first
that-
trophy, probably. Then
Probably.
something else happened in
But
the
then-
final.
Then Liverpool happened.
Then Liverpool happened. No, Liverpool was unstoppable
Yeah,
in the
Liverpool.
UCL champion.
Yeah, I mean,
and this season also in the
I
PL.
mean, this season until the Watford game, I was worried, man. I was worried.
Yeah,
I was-
actually, Arsenal fans were worried sick. That's the only thing we have at the moment. We are in the Invincibles. I think that's going to go
they were
now.
like relentless.
Invincibles FC, Invincibles FC.
Yeah.
Huge dub, huge dub.
This is something that even after a decade, that's not a shared history.
Yeah. Right.
Ah.
That,
Yeah,
that was
12 draws, 12 draws in the
12
league,
draws.
but we still have the Invincible trophy, right?
Yeah, man. Even in the Invincible season, we had 9 draws, I suppose. It was just that the teams back there, weren't up to the mark. We don't used to think when we face goals back then. But right now, when any team faces goals, they think that it's cool. We need to make strategy, and that juiced up IOB Adama Traore. Nah, man. I'm not,
Yeah. Adama Traore is he's a bull. He's a super fast bull. But
So do you think Adama Traore will stay in Wolves next season or will go into a bigger team?
I think he's going to
I
stay
think
for
he's
another
staying
season and after
Who will buy
that.
him? Who will buy
Yeah.
him? Even
Who will buy him?
Even
Exactly
if
that
he-
question.
yeah, who
Who
will
will
buy
buy
him?
him?
Nah, man.
That's true. That's true. But then, what do you think about the guard of honor that Man City gave to Liverpool? That was a really,
Yeah,
really
actually
guard
Liverpool
of
was
honor.
very
You know,
Liverpool was very casual in that game, and we just took the advantage.
24 or 48 hours back, Van Dijk and all the teams on
He saw
a
Klopp
terrace
working.
watching Chelsea play, and then they celebrate, and then fast forward it to the game.
Yeah,
Sterling
actually
beat the
they
shit
were
out
still in
of
hangover, I guess.
the
So
defense.
that day Robertson was on another level.
But to be honest, if I am a Liverpool fan, I won't be much taken away by the fact that even if we lose 4-0, 5-0 against
Yeah, it's not a
top club.
problem. Definitely, it's not a
Because we
problem.
are champions. Because at the end of the day, we are champions, and they will be the challengers.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So
Exactly.
let's just
The fact doesn't change.
that way. And that what I've seen lately, that Liverpool still have something to play for, like that 102 points.
Yeah, I think they are chasing that at the moment.
Just chasing that, and I'm worried about the fact that we are facing them next week. Come on, man.
No, Liverpool
That's going
can't
to be
beat
tough
out
on
that
Bellerin.
100
I
point
think he
record.
won't be getting his next 3,000 plants.
Bellerin will be going up against Mane. Come on, man. Nah.
Yeah.
We need to specify on Black Lives Matter and bring in Ainsley for that. We need to have Ainsley on that for that. Ainsley or Cedric. I'll take anyone except Bellerin.
Okay, so I think we have had a
Yeah.
lot of clueless debates and a proper banter today. But then let's end off this session with a birthday song for Avik Das.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll begin.
Uh,
Happy birthday to
Thank
you.
you.
Happy
Thank you so much.
birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Riham Addict. Happy birthday to you. Okay,
Thank you so
so
much. Thank you.
it has been a great session. The first episode of the Football Clubhouse. We will be doing this more, and Arijit Nandi and Saurabh Saha, they'll be joining us in the next session, hopefully, properly. And till then, I'll see you guys in the next one, and I hope the viewers have enjoyed a lot. You have anything to say to the viewers?
Yeah, I'll just say that look into this video. We'll be going more raw next time.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
full raw.
we tried
Bring
to.
the big guns
I
out.
don't know how much I have been, but it will be more raw once we have a Chelsea fan because I know they will be coming at my back and pampering about that we are getting the top four and all. So let's see, looking forward to it now.
Yeah,
All
that
right.
bringing one Chelsea fan will up the game.
Definitely, we'll try to get a Chelsea fan in the next episode. If I have to pay them, I'll pay them. But we need to have some fun with them. All right. All right. So, guys,
It's
bye.
been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure with you guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Chalo,
Thank
bye.
you.